You're looking live. College football, week number 7, wide right CFB. What is going on? I'm your host, Coach Cass. And today, we're going to be flying solo for a few minutes until our other panelists show up. Let's start off today saying hi to everybody in the chat. Let's go over here at Power Stroke Jude. What's going on, Jude? Diabolical 58. What's up, John? Anthony GM85. What's going on, Anthony? Thanks for stopping by Raging Cajun Garage. Awesome fan to have. Here we go. Another awesome member, Pat Paulson. Thanks for joining us, Pat. All right. How's everybody doing today? We're doing great here. Got a lot of stuff going on in college football this week. So let's head on over to the banners and let's bring up some news of the week. We'll go over here to college football news of the week. And we'll go ahead and just jump into it. So it looks like quarterback for Alabama quarterback, Bryce Young, he's going to be back versus Tennessee. They're pretty hopeful about that. Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson's expected back versus BYU. And Kansas quarterback, unfortunately, Jalen Daniels doesn't look like he's going to make the game this week. But, you know, they are playing Oklahoma, so you never know. So, anyways, that's the news. There's some other news going on in college football. Georgia Tech's getting really close to naming an athletic director. Hall of Fame Georgia coach Vince Dooley gets out of the hospital this week. He had COVID. He's getting much better. They say he's going to make a full return. Interesting news. The college football playoff, the push for expansion in college football playoff, they're talking about 2024. That's pretty fast. That means they got like some solid TV contracts and stuff like that signed. All right. Our first panelist, he's the beast from the East. He's the assistant to the president of the Doug Flutie fan club. And his blocks are so good, they're lead pipe. Please welcome to the channel, Lindsey Coyle. What's going on, Lindsey?
How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fair. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Staying busy.
Good deal. So, before we get started with Lindsey's lead pipe locks, let's go over here, or Lindsey's lockdowns, I should say lockdowns. Let's go back to the chat. Let's say hi to Chris Hodges. Chris, what's going on? Bocce's blankets and more. What's up, Bocce? Thanks for stopping in. All right, Lindsey, what's new? Anything new? Anything big in college football this week? Is it just going to be a home week? Do you think it's just going to be ho-hum? Or do you think it's going to be like one of those epic weeks?
We are going to have a mix of both. There's going to be some games that are going to be spectacular and others which are going to be kind of a yawner. I think that there's enough going on with some of the quarterbacks this week that is going to keep things very interesting and keep us guessing what's going to happen right up to game day.
I'm there with you, man. I am excited. I think this could be one of those weeks that, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be easy. I don't know if it's going to easily be able to be topped in the coming weeks. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that there's this level of games out there. I mean, you have top 10 matchups. Like a couple of them. I mean, like, how fortunate are we as fans just to get to watch top 10 matchups? I mean, like, have more than one in a day. And the way they're staggered, you get to watch one after another, right? So at 11 a.m., you have Penn State going to Michigan. There's number 10 Penn State versus number 5 Michigan. And then at, 2:30, you have number 3 Alabama going to Knoxville to play a number 6 Tennessee. You don't think those places aren't going to be just out of control? Fans are just going to be going nuts? I mean, those are going to be some for real deal environments. Also at 2:30, you have a number 8 Oklahoma State team going to Fort Worth to play TCU. I mean, these are big, big games. And then at the same time, you had a number 15 NC State that's going to Syracuse. And I tell you what, if nobody's ever watched a game in Syracuse, you have to watch it. They play in this thing called the Carrier Dome, and a lot of times the fans get out their keys and they jingle their keys like pretty much the entire game. So it's something that if you've never seen it, you got to check it out. Anyways, let's scroll over here to the comments. Everybody saying hi. Bocce said hi to you, Lindsey.
Hey, Bocce.
All right. Let's just get into it, Lindsey. Since we're waiting on everybody, Hunter's going to be here at 9:30.
Okay.
Jude's experiencing Spectrum's got an outage in his area, so we may get him. He's trying to use his hotspot to join us. We'll see what happens. So he's working on it. He got home from work today and no internet, so that's a bummer.
The specter of Spectrum raises its ugly head again.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Lindsay's lockdowns up there, and then let's go ahead and get the top 25 rolling underneath you. And you can see everybody sees who's in the top 25. And that is not a typo at number 22. There's 2 number 22s this week. We have the University of Kentucky, who is at 22. And we have the University of Texas, which is also at 22. They received an even amount of votes this week in the poll, in the top 25 poll. So when AP announced it, instead of having 22 and 23, it said 2 number 22s. It's rare. It happens occasionally. So when we see it, I'm just pointing it out. That's the real deal. That's how the AP reported it. So, Lindsay, we're going into week 7. This is when you really got to be showing. You really have to show that you're a contender and not a pretender. So for week 7, give me your contenders this week, and let me hear why.
The contenders that I'm choosing this week have shown themselves to be very solid top 10 teams, and they're in the running for all having a very good showing from now till the end of the year. I like who they have a quarterback. I like their coaching staffs. I think that they've got their games pretty much solidified now that we're in week 7. And it's just a matter of, from here, continuing to execute their plans going in, assuming nobody gets hurt and everyone stays healthy. But that's always the X factor. It's also why it's such an exciting time, because now that teams have solidified themselves, an injury here, an injury there can drastically change the landscape once you kind of get lulled into thinking that maybe things have been settled out and you know who your powerhouses are. But such may not be the case. And we have a question mark this week with Alabama, and that'll be interesting to see what they do. But the contenders I am choosing for week 7 are Michigan over Penn State, and I'm going to pick the win at 31-28 for Michigan. USC, I think, will beat Utah 42-17. And Mississippi State over Kentucky 28-21. The winners I'm choosing this week have shown themselves to be rather solid, and I don't think there's going to be much surprise in either of those 3 games.
All right. So I think we're probably in the same direction on 2 of the 3 games. I don't know if the Michigan-Penn State game gets that high, but I'm never going to doubt Lindsay the Greek here. Lindsay the Greek is usually money. He usually pays. So, like I said, we're going to go to Vegas one of these days, and we're going to make a whole mountain of money off of Lindsay the Greek. So, but we do have to cut Pat Paulson into the deal too, because he kind of coined the name Lindsay the Greek. So he's obviously, we're going to split the wealth with him. I do agree with you about USC. I think Utah's defense is kind of fraudulent.
Yep.
I think they're going to get exposed this week. And USC's had 2 really flat games the last couple of weeks, so I really look for them to rebound. And Mississippi State, man, what can you say? Mississippi State is just – they really look like they're going to be a really tough team to beat on their offense is really tough to stop. And Kentucky, without Will Levis, is a good team. They're not a great team. No. They're an average to good team. So – and then I agree with you. Michigan will beat Penn State in a rather close game. I just don't know they score, 59 points. I just, you're talking about, a James Franklin Penn State team. They're not necessarily not known for offense, but they're known for great defense. So, and then of course Michigan's always has a good defense. So it'll be exciting to watch. But I do agree with you on all your picks. I think that 100%. That's what will happen. Let's go over to the pretenders side. Now, I see your pretenders. You know your pretenders, but nobody else in YouTube world knows what you're thinking. So go ahead and let us know who's pretending to be a college football powerhouse this week.
Yeah, people may not know what I'm picking, but once I tell them, they go, yeah, I would have picked those 2. After, just like the powerhouse teams, rise to the top, kind of the other teams settle to the bottom like silt in the bottom of a bucket. Vanderbilt is going to lose to Georgia 56-21. I've got Oklahoma losing to Kansas 35-27. And Auburn is going to get the loss against Mississippi 34-24. I don't see these guys having the game plans going in. They have not proved themselves to be solid teams. They're, if they've been in the top 25, they fluctuated in and out. And some are just going to be bottom feeding now till the rest of the year.
I definitely can't disagree with you. I do like Vanderbilt as a team. I think they're a team on the rise. I think the fan base can see their team on the rise, but obviously you're playing the defending national champions.
Yeah.
They're gonna outplayer you at every position. They have everybody at their particular position. How you match up, they have somebody better. So it's just one of those natural things that's going to happen. Or Georgia's is going to outdo Vanderbilt. Oklahoma, I think the fans in Oklahoma are ready to do like an ostrich and just bury their head in the sand for the rest of the season, and just hopefully they don't get hit with anything on the way out. It'll be a good game for Kansas, especially since Jalen Daniels is going to be. It looked like he's expected to be out this week, and along with that, they played some tough games, the last couple of weeks, so to give them a chance to lick their wounds and just go pummel Oklahoma, once or every once in a while. Auburn, just the rumors around Auburn, it just, with not Gus Malzahn. Hunter and I joke, we call Brian Harsin Gus Malzahn 2.0 because he reminds, Brian Harsin reminds us of the coach that is fired. Like they fired Gus Malzahn to hire Gus Malzahn,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just don't see Auburn beating Ole Miss like any way, shape, or form. So. You got to have an upset out there.
I sure do.
You got to tell me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up here Week 7 upsets. So tell me who's going to be the most upset this week in college football, Lindsay. It's not going to be us, the fans. Definitely not going to be us, the fans.
No, because it's going to be a good game. Oklahoma State's going to be crying because they're going to lose a close one to TCU. I have TCU coming out ahead by 1 point, 28-27.
All right, so before we go too much further on this, I want to tell everybody right now, if there is a game that you want to feel comfortable about betting on, now we're not taking responsibility if you lose. You lose, it's on you. But if you want to think about putting $1, maybe $1.50 down on the game, this might be the game to do it. Because your guy Lindsay the Greek here, he's been money for a while. He's working at probably about an 80% clip right now. So. Unfortunately, sometimes my team is the bearer of the brunt of the bear. So, Lindsay's picking TCU to be Oklahoma State. I kind of like that pick. I like TCU's momentum. Both teams have played pretty tough schedules to this point, so it'll be interesting to see. So, all right, Lindsay, who do you have? Well, do you want to elaborate any more on your game of the week or your upset of the weekend?
On the upset of the week? No, I think you elaborated quite nicely on that. If you're going to have to watch just one game, that's certainly one to choose because it'll be a good close one. It'll be hard fought. Won't be high scoring, which means it'll be some good stout defense, and it'll be a good game to. If you're not that familiar with college football, it'll be a great game to get exposed to college football with because they're two good teams who are going to be fighting the whole way.
All right. So let's get to our Heisman Watch, Lindsay. We'll take a little break here from the game, from the picks, and let's get into your Heisman Watch. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe not everybody knows what you're thinking, but I'll pick a couple out of here. We'll throw out the obvious ones. You have the obvious Bryce Young. If he plays this week, I think he's still in the Heisman contention. If he misses this week with injury, I think that lessens his ability to win the Heisman just because he's not there. You also have C.J. Stroud in there. I mean, that's another awesome pick. He's until he plays Michigan or Penn State, he's just going to keep on racking up the accolades and yards. And then you have Caleb Williams. So these are been our perennial contenders pretty much from the beginning of the season. But you have two names in here, and I like both names. I think they're very worthy names of being in here. So let's go ahead and hear about the other two names that you have in here.
Sure, because the first three guys are going to be in everybody's list. There's no one who watches football who's not going to pick those three guys to be in contention. I agree with you about Bryce Young that if he is not playing this week, then we're going to have to replace him in this list. And we'll see who that might be, come the week after. But for now, those are the three solid locks. The two that are more on the periphery but making really solid arguments for themselves are Bo Nix, the quarterback from Oregon, and Hendon Hooker, the quarterback from Tennessee. These guys have been rock solid and fun to watch. I really enjoy watching them do their thing. They've got rather advanced skill sets for where they are in their career, and I think that they deserve to be justly rewarded if they keep doing what they're doing by the end of the year. They are absolutely top names to be talking about Heisman trophies for.
I like it. I think those are two excellent names to pick. I mean, Bo Nix had a shaky start to the season, and he's done nothing but rebound and just build upward since. So it's been fun to watch. I mean, I always like it when college football has a lot of parity, it's competitive. It just makes for a better view. Even if your team's not doing well or your team suffers a loss, to one of these, just watching the growth of the team, watching the growth of individual players, it's so much fun to watch. So I think it just makes college football unique. But I'd really, like the Hendon Hooker. I mean, like what a great story. I mean, a guy that was at a program that just hasn't, been worth a salt in recent years, and all of a sudden, boom, he's playing for a powerhouse team this year. So, all right, Lindsay, let's talk about it. Everybody knows what it is. Game of the week. It's obviously.
This is the game everybody should be watching because it's really fun to watch two thoroughbreds just race it out and see who comes out on top. And we have the absolute pleasure of watching Alabama play at Tennessee. I don't know that there's a game that's more anticipated than this one. We've been looking forward to this for a long time because you have two Heisman contenders, two top Heisman contenders facing off a quarterback, assuming Bryce Young stays healthy and he starts. There is some talk right now about whether or not he's going to start. Alabama has not released an official statement on it, but insiders have said that he's 100% and he's eager to come back on the field. Now, Alabama does not need this win in order to be seeded into an SEC championship game, but the rivalry is too big to keep Young on the sidelines if he's in fact healthy enough to play. Now, if he's not, I understand if they don't want to risk his health because you still have bigger, more important games to play as far as their standings are concerned. But as far as excitement, anticipation, and rivalry is concerned, there is none bigger than facing Tennessee. So they're going to do everything they can to start Bryce Young, and assuming he is good to go, we are going to see one rock'em sock'em game, and it's the one I've been salivating over watching now for a while.
All right. We're going to take a little break from your before your next pick. Our next panelist, he's the foremost expert on college football. He brings you the kind of information that only the coaches know. Please welcome Hunter. What's up, Hunter? How are you doing tonight, son?
Hey,
all right.
All right.
Jude? Lindsay.
Well, that's Lindsay. Jude's missing right now, so.
I meant to say I was gonna mess with Jude immediately. That's my whole thought process. Right. I'm sorry.
That's all right. All right. So Lindsay, I'm glad this all kind of came together like this because when I think of games of the week, and this is the WEAK, usually the group of five gets mentioned in this, but I think you actually picked a pretty decent game for game of the week. And I'm glad we have the group of five expert on the panel now with us because I think he's got some insight on both of these teams. So, Lindsay, please give us the game of the week. And this is the WEAK.
This is going to be a lackluster game between James Madison and Georgia Southern. I'm going to pick James Madison to win 24-17. But don't expect any fireworks in this one. I don't think there's going to be a tough grind. I think that it's going to be a fairly mediocre played game. I'm going to look for piles of penalties and just some frustration on both sides of the ball. And as a fan, you're going to be frustrated too watching it. If you're going to pick a game of the week to miss this one and instead watch Alabama and Tennessee or any of the contenders that we talked about earlier.
All right, Hunter, you're the group of five expert here. Tell me why Lindsay's wrong about James Madison and Georgia Southern.
Such blasphemy. I don't know their rate penalized for either team, unfortunately. They could have pretty high penalty rates for all I know. I can only go off of what James Madison has done and what I've seen them do with my own eyes. And they have an offense that's not explosive, but it will pound you into the ground and score points and score points and score points. If they're not a big play offense, but they're not like, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They kind of just operate their offense. It's kind of just an immovable, or it's a irresistible force. Georgia Southern, for their part, has played spoiler already to one season in Nebraska and Scott Frost, or maybe done Nebraska a favor, who knows. So Georgia Southern could look to pull an upset on JMU. I don't see it just because Georgia Southern, I mean, they did pull one close with Coastal Carolina, so maybe they're looking to finally hit the nail on the head with JMU here. JMU could lose this game. They are undefeated. They are ranked, the only Sun Belt team to be ranked currently, but they're not impervious. I mean, even though they did beat Texas State by quite a bit, I was watching that game and they left a lot of opportunities to Texas State on that field. And it kind of makes you wonder, if a team has the ability to exploit those mistakes, can GMU overcome them? So we'll have to see. I don't think it's a game of the week. If there's a game of the week, WEAK, it's got to be Arkansas and BYU. That is a game of the week right there.
All right, Hunter. So before we get on Hunter's hard takes here, let's take a little timeout. We're going to call a timeout. We're 20 minutes into the show. Let's take a little timeout. Let's talk about Wide Right CFB's 500 subscriber giveaway. Now, man, it's not looking like we're going to hit 500 subscribers. We may need to make this like 50 subscribers. But we're going to keep the number at 500, but I think the giveaway is still going to happen. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to get to 500 subscribers by the morning of the Heisman. We're going to put a video out of all the panelists. We'll have a video. You'll just need to go and be a subscriber. You'll need to like, comment on the video. And then that night after the Heisman's read, we're going to go and put it into a randomizer generator, one of those things that picks a winner. And we're going to pick a winner. And what are you going to win? You're going to win 2 of these Wide Right CFB t-shirts of your size and choice. You're going to win a football signed by every panelist you see right now on the screen for guaranteed sure. And you're also going to win a $50 gift card to Buffalo Wild Wings and another $50 gift card to Buffalo Wild Wings. So what you want to do is you're going to go and tell all your friends. You're going to get your mom to come and sign up with 25 burner accounts. You're going to help us grow Wide Right CFB to 500 subscribers by the morning of the Heisman. And then after that, we're going to celebrate. We'll have a good time. We'll read it, and we will definitely get the winner of the Wide Right CFB 500 subscriber giveaway. A prize pack worthy of a subscriber of Wide Right CFB. Did I get that right, guys? Did I do well? Did I do well?
Yeah.
Well enough. All right, good job. All right, before we get to Hunter's hard takes, we're going to hop back in. Before we get to his hard takes, let's jump over here to our favorite segment of the show. I want to make sure Lindsay's here when we do it this time. I want to bring up our salute to this service academies. And once again, if you're a former or a current member of the armed forces, we thank you very much. There's no other way we could thank you. What y'all have done and what y'all do makes this possible for us to do. So thank you very much. So let's get into our salute to the service academies this week. And we have our first game. It's a Friday nighter, folks. So if you're not into that high school Friday football fever, you might want to jump over at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to ESPN and watch Navy take on SMU in Dallas at SMU Stadium. I think it's Amon Carter Stadium, if I'm correct.
Amon G. Carter, but yeah.
Amon G. Carter Stadium. I pulled that.
That's
right
TCU's field. That's TCU's field.
Is it?
It's Gerald R. Ford Stadium.
Gerald J. Ford Stadium.
Ford,
excuse me. I apologize to the SMU, the My Little Pony elitist there. All right, Hunter, you're the guy going into the Department of Navy here at some point. Why don't you hit me with a little knowledge on Navy at SMU?
I'm not going to the Navy. Anyway, so
you have to answer like Chris did. So Hunter's Uncle Chris, he would answer. How would Uncle Chris answer this? You're going into the Department of the Navy. What would he say?
Men's
He'd be like, that's the men's department.
Yeah.
All right. So hit me with some knowledge here, Hunter. What do we have?
So Navy, I have Navy beating SMU by a whole molly-whopping lot because while Tulsa, I was talking about last week how Navy can stop air raid quick pass offenses that like Tulsa uses, SMU uses a run and shoot style offense. They also use some wing T style run concepts though that could hurt them. like I said, Navy matches up well with those, and we saw it last week with Navy versus Tulsa. Also, SMU's team is cratering. They're quitting on their coach. There's zero good reports coming out of Dallas, Texas right now as it pertains to the Pony Express. So, I just have Navy, beating SMU 53-27. I think that was a score between Navy and Tulsa. I think it's the same thing here with Navy and SMU. I think Navy runs all over SMU, and they put 500 yards on the My Little Ponies.
All right, Lindsay, what are your thoughts on Navy at SMU on Friday?
I have. I agree with a lot with what Hunter's saying. I like how things are set up to go in here. I don't know that I'm going to be able to watch that game, unfortunately, as much as I'd like to. But I haven't had a big chance to keep up with them what they're doing this year. I'm going to defer to Hunter on this one and go with him because I like what he says. His familiarity with them is far greater and more intricate than mine is.
Well, I'm going to have to agree with him. We've read the insider reports out of Dallas right now, and SMU is just a dumpster fire. They have players entering the transfer portal, the players not wanting to play for the coach. This has all the signs of Navy just showing up and just bringing it to them because you never have to guess if Navy's going to be on or not. They're going to always bring it every week. They may not match up well against you, but you're definitely going to know that you're playing against Navy whenever you play. All right, let's go to our second game of the day. This is our first game on Saturday. It's Colgate, the toothpaste company, at Army, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on CBS Sports Network. Hunter, does Colgate have anything for the Black Knights of the Hudson?
Well, I got to really quickly, even though he might never see this, I got to shout out a high school teammate of mine. He may still be there. Hayden Howren plays nickel at Colgate, or did. He may have taken his COVID option. He may not have. I'm not quite sure. I do know he redshirted his freshman year, so I don't know. I'll have to ask him about it. But unfortunately, no, I don't think Colgate beats Army. I love to support my former Bulldogs, but I don't think it's happening. Army, I think, is just a better team. You got scholarship players. It's that FBS, FCS difference, and Colgate's not like a great FCS team. I think Army just kind of runs them over.
All right. I'm going to have to kind of side with Hunter. I definitely think Army is just going to wear out Colgate very fast. Let's move on to our nightcap on TV. Now, we have two more service academies we're going to talk about after this, but our TV nightcap, Air Force at UNLV in Vegas, 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on CBS Sports Network. Who do you have, Lindsay? Air Force at UNLV.
Oh, that's the 9:30 game.
What's that?
That's the 9:30 game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that Air Force is going to give them a run for their money. They've had some pretty stout defense, and I think for the first time in a long time, they've held their opponents just 30 points. I can't see a team with that kind of defense losing really at all to a team like Colgate. So to UNLV. So I'm going to go with the Falcons on this one. Even though both teams are coming with the same record, I think Air Force has a better defense.
Hunter, do you have anything to add, Air Force versus UNLV?
I do. So I kind of am a prescriber to the styles make matchups thought process with a lot of college football. And we saw Utah State style beat Air Force last weekend. And I think I'm not a disbeliever in Air Force, but I have a feeling that it may strike again. If Air Force makes mistakes they did against Utah State, against UNLV can do the very same thing and beat Air Force. UNLV has a very similar passing style, very similar running style, young quarterback that can make plays with his arm and legs. So, it could be another week of an Air Force loss. Air Force could bounce back. It's all kind of rides on how Air Force plays, I think. It's their game to lose, and I think that they get struck, again, they get shocked again, and I have UNLV beating Air Force by just a measly 3 points.
All right. So let's get to the other two service academies that we never talk about normally. But since this is a wide right CFB, we're going to salute them too. So our first of the unknowns is Catholic University. And if nobody knows what Catholic University is, it's a university in Washington, D.C. They're going to travel to the Coast Guard Academy. And the last time I checked, I believe Coast Guard Academy is in New Jersey. I don't remember the exact town, but I know it's
New
in
London,
New Jersey.
Connecticut.
Oh, New London, Connecticut. See, there you go. Once again, I'm all thumbs today. So Catholic University is going to travel to Coast Guard Academy. Now, Coast Guard Academy is coming off of a tough loss, I believe, last week. And, you know, Catholic University, I think, has a similar record. I think they're 3-3 this year. I think Coast Guard Academy is somewhere around there. So it's going to be at a 12:30 Central Standard Time. If you want, you can go I'm pretty sure you can go log on to their web. They have a web page, and you can watch the game via the web page. Now, they're Division III, and they play in the conference is the new MAC, which is an NEWMAC. It's a Division III matchup, Hunter. Is that correct?
Yep, the Division III.
Yep. And so the good thing about this game is these guys are getting a chance to play some football, and they're getting to serve their country. So what we do is we ask you to go, and if you get an opportunity, watch Catholic at Coast Guard Academy. It'll be worth a watch. Our next service academy that nobody ever talks about is the Merchant Marine Academy, and they're playing those smart kids at MIT this week in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Now, I got that right. I absolutely got that right.
Yep.
So, Lizzie, you're being the East Coaster, the Bostonian-ish. Can you give me a little insight on the MIT? Oh, you're on mute. Hold on,
we can't hear you.
I don't know how you can. You're on mute.
All right. Sorry, I must have. I was typing. I must have hit my mute button. MIT's a bunch of engineering nerds that are going to run around in football outfits for a weekend and call it a game. It's always been that way. Their biggest rivalry has always been Harv, where they have always just kind of, they're crosstown rivals, and they are not. I mean, they're more interested in playing pranks on each other than they are in playing football. They have had years where the nerds at Harvard have built a fake police car and assembled it atop the dome on the main building on the MIT campus. And then there was one year where MIT buried a large inflatable balloon under the field at Harvard Coliseum and inflated it halfway through the game, and it popped up out of the field. This is the kind of games that these guys do. This is the kind of rivalry they have. So I'll be honest that I don't take the football programs very seriously. They might be entertaining to watch, but I wouldn't really hold out much hope of being a terribly entertaining game from a pure football perspective. Saying that as I have, I'll say this. I'll give the edge to MIT. I'll say they'll win 24-17.
Okay, so I'm trying to find MIT's record right now. I will tell you that the Merchant Marine Academy from Kings Point, New York, they are 4-1 on the season, with their only loss being to FDU Florham. So they beat Sunny Maritime, Keene, WPI, and Norwich. And Norwich is a common opponent between both Coast Guard Academy and Merchant Marine Academy. That'll be a good litmus test for both teams. So you'll kind of know what game you're going to get. Because remember, on November 12th, the Merchant Marine Academy is playing the Coast Guard Academy. And they call this game, it's the Secretary's Cup, and it will be broadcasted on ESPN. And I promise you, we will be watching this game. We'll be chatting about it on Instagram. We'll be bringing it up possibly on YouTube Shorts. It'll be something to watch. So I'm very excited about watching it. I know Hunter's very excited about watching it. I know Jude's very excited about watching it. So I think it'll be a good watch. Lizzie, you'll probably have to join us too. Maybe you can come over and we'll watch it. Maybe we'll live stream a little bit from the house while we're watching the Merchant Marine Academy versus the Coast Guard Academy. What do you say?
That'd be cool.
We can just house some Miller Lights while watching it.
Some Miller Lite skis. All right. Well, I'm going to have Lizzie cook because we're going to have something like super nerdy, super good. Like he's going to have I made these wings and they have all this great stuff on it. And I made this dipping sauce. Everything's handmade. Sounds good. Thanks, Lizzie, for volunteering.
Thank you,
hey,
Lizzie.
the drunker we get, the more fun it'll be. So.
All right. So that's our salute to the service academies. With that said, Hunter, Liz, you got a few more minutes to hang out with us?
I have about 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes.
Right.
Well, let's do this before we get Hunter all riled up and get him started. let's thank Lindsay for coming on. Everybody in the chat, please give him a shout out and follow him on his channel, Coil Tools. He's a moderately successful guy. He's only got a couple videos that people have seen, just a few things. But no, actually, Lindsay's got a great growing channel. He's worked very hard to get there. Please, if you're a subscriber to Wide Right CFB, please hop on over, go check out Lindsay's channel. If you like tools and you like shop talk and stuff like that, he's your guy. So, Lindsay, thanks a lot for joining us today. We will see you Saturday for a whole show when you're not working, right?
That sounds good.
And I'll have a special guest in studio this Saturday, too. So, special guest in studio. Well, studio might
in studio.
Special guest, the Wide Right CFB. Special.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. All right, Lindsay. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
See you, Lindsay.
All right, Hunter. It's time for those hard takes.
All right, I'm gonna roll through these.
Here, let me bump back over to the top 25 here.
All right.
Give me some hard takes here, son.
All right, so we're gonna start with the contenders, like we always do.
Right.
I got Oak State beating TCU 38-37. This could be a preview of the Big 12 championship. I think Oak State, I think they took that tough shot against Tech. I think they kind of learned some lessons, and I think they're going to go beat TCU, maybe but just by a point. TCU got off that hard game with Kansas. We'll see. This could go anyone's either way, but I think Oak State, with their more experienced quarterback, more experienced coach, I think that they win this game, but just very closely, 38-37, just by a point. Michigan, I have beating Penn State 28-21. I think if Michigan's offense can score enough points to put Penn State in a position where they have to pass, they win the game. Apparently, Sean Clifford, when he has to throw the ball more than 30 times, is 1-5. So if Michigan can just let that pass rush eat, they will dominate Penn State and they'll get out of there with a win. Their offense hasn't looked great, but I think that it can look good, and it's not look bad either. It's just look kind of like that, run the ball, play good defense style football that Harbaugh is known for. I think as long as they stay in that mode, I think they win the game. And then for another contender that I think hasn't gotten enough love yet from most people, I have Syracuse beating North Carolina State 28-24 in the Carrier Dome. I think Syracuse is running back Sean Tucker. He has a kind of a meme, if you will, where after every game he tweets if he's pleased with his performance and with the team's performance. And so I think Sean Tucker will be very pleased after he gets done running all over NC State. I think NC State's season is kind of over. They lost to Clemson. They barely beat Florida State. They look vulnerable. And I think Syracuse is a better team than Florida State. And I think at home in the Carrier Dome, Syracuse takes down NC State.
Just to let everybody know, the Penn State-Michigan game, it's 11 a.m. kickoff Central Standard Time on Fox. The Syracuse and NC State game, that's a 2:30 kickoff, and that's going to be on ACC Network. So you'll have to look for that one. And the number 8 Oklahoma State versus the number 13 TCU. That's also a that's also a 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time kickoff, and you'll be able to catch that game on the Bid Network. That's going to be on ABC. So, Hunter, with our contenders out of the way, let's talk about some people that are just pretending to be there. Hit me with 3 pretenders.
So I have a pretender here is Illinois. I think that Illinois, they've had a good run so far this season, but I think they come up against Minnesota, who I believe will have Mo Ibrahim back. And if they do, I think Minnesota kind of runs all over Illinois 28-14. Illinois has gotten away with beating a bunch of bad teams and looking good, beating bad offenses. I think if they play a good Minnesota rushing offense with Mo Ibrahim, I think that Minnesota kind of just runs over the Illini and gets out of there with a 28-14 win.
All right.
Another pretender, I'm going to the G5 here, to the Fun Belt no less. Troy has been kind of seen as maybe a team that can win the Sun Belt West. And I think that this week, they have this big favor, -14. They've never lost to this team before, but, anything is possible, as we've seen, because the team they've taken on is my very own beloved Texas State Bobcats, who just got done beating App State. I think that this is a big turnaround in the season, in the culture of the team. And I think that they go into Troy, Alabama, and give Troy a taste of their own medicine. And I think that Texas State goes in there and beats Troy 35-24 and say hello to the new leaders in the Sun Belt West, the Texas State Bobcats.
There you go. All right. Give me one more, son. Give me one more
All right,
contender.
and then this could be an upset as well. UW has looked weak the last 2 weeks, but they're still kind of in the race for the Pac-12. I think this week Arizona puts their season down for good. I think Arizona goes and beats the University of Washington 42-35, and we kind of see like the Washington hype finally completely die out in Arizona. They've been an improving team every week, and I think they do it again this week.
All right. So this Minnesota-Illinois game, this is 11 a.m. Kickoff Central Standard Time on the Big Ten Network. The Troy and Texas State game, or Texas State at Troy, that's going to be a 2:30 kickoff on the ESPN Trace, the 3, ESPN 3. We'll call it the ESPN Trace. And if you want to watch Washington take on Arizona, that's a 4:30 kickoff on the Pac-12 Network. So, Hunter, with that said, let's hop on over. Let's talk a little upset of the week. Who is your upset pick of the week? Now, I know there's a guy watching right now who's going to be upset with you when you talk about this game. So go ahead and
yes, he will.
The beans, son.
All right. In Utah, the Utes take on the USC Trojans. And while the Trojans have been pretty tight this year, they've played a lot of good defense, they haven't really failed, as it were. Broken, if you will. I think that the Utes break the Trojans, tear the Trojans up, however you want to put it, however more innuendos I can use. I think Utah beats USC. Utah has to save their season. This is do or die for Utah's season. If they want to be repeat Pac-12 champions, they have to beat USC. They have no choice. They have to beat them. And I think they do it. I think Kyle Whittingham and Cam Rising have their minds together. Cam Rising looks like he can drink a lot of beer, so I like that. So I think Utah beats USC 48-45.
Close one. All right. There's a guy right now in California that's disagreeing with you heavily.
I'm sure there's an essay in the comments. I can't see him, so I'm not worried about it.
It's coming. All right, Hunter. With that said, we're going to take a little time out from the pick'em games real quick. Let's talk about your Heisman contenders. Now, we know we have the big three, right? Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams. Let's talk about the guys that not everybody's talking about right now. We talked about this last night. Hit me with your Heisman contenders that aren't being talked about.
Well, I'm going to go to LA for another one, but he doesn't play for USC. No, he is the quarterback of the UCLA Bruins, one Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think that he may be the best quarterback right now playing in the country. His team is winning because of his play, because of his ability to make plays with his feet, with his legs. He draws all kinds of penalties for teams because he just frustrates them with his ability to make plays. He put the ball all over the field where he needs to, and he is operating the Chip Kelly offense like a classic Oregon team from back in the day when they wore those cool helmets and those cool shoes and played Auburn. When I see that UCLA team, I think of that peak Oregon team that, put the ball all over the place and scored a lot of points, and it's really exciting to watch. I really like Dorian Thompson-Robinson this year. I think he's silenced the haters. I used to not be a believer in him. Now I believe in him 100%. That guy can make plays. They're off this week, so we'll see what they can do next week. I think they might play USC next week. I could be wrong.
So just to let everybody on the podcast know, what's his nickname? What does he go by? Let everybody know. He's got one of the coolest nicknames I think I've ever heard.
Dorian Thompson-Robinson?
What do they call him?
DTR?
Yeah. DTR.
I like it.
It's pretty cool, isn't it? I like it too. I mean, I tell you what, the guy deserves everything he's getting right now because the guy has worked so hard to make himself this kind of college football player. And I really couldn't think of another pick that's so deserving to be mentioned in the Heisman contention. I mean, the guy is willing his team to win, and he's making it look easy while he's doing it. All right, Hunter, do you have any other Heisman hopefuls in your list?
I do. I have two more.
All right.
Of course, there's Hendon Hooker. His Heisman campaign hasn't really ramped up too much yet. It's gotten going. It's getting there. he's going to need his Heisman moment this week. If they beat Alabama, Hendon Hooker could really end up in New York, but he's going to need his Heisman moment. I know there's a lot of Alabama fans that really doubt their team's ability to win this game. Hold up. Alabama is the best team in the country. They have the best pass rush. They have the best secondary. They have the best defense. And when Bryce Young is on the field, they also have one of the best offenses. Tennessee's defense isn't that good. And really, you look at who has Tennessee actually beaten. Yes, Florida was ranked when they played them, but we've watched Florida play. Florida's only beaten Utah. They haven't beaten anyone else of note. So Florida's not really the best litmus test. They're also not very talented this year. Tennessee beat LSU, who is rebuilding and, again, doesn't have a lot of offensive talent. This is the best offense Tennessee's defense has got to face all year with Bryce Young at the helm. If he's not fully healthy, that's unfortunate. But I think even slightly unhealthy Bryce Young wins this game for Alabama. But if Hendon Hooker has his Heisman moment and Tennessee wins, you'll see Hendon Hooker in New York.
All right. Last one. Hit me with it.
All right. I don't know if the last time this team had a Heisman contender. Yes, I do. If he can continue to have the season this team is having, he'll quietly make his way to New York. He'll join the ranks of great running backs like Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders, Spencer Sanders from the Oklahoma State University of Oklahoma State. I couldn't tell you. Oklahoma State University Cowboys. Spencer Sanders has the Pokes offense rolling. He's not making the mistakes that he used to make last year and the year before. You and I said it all the time watching him play. If he gets rid of the mistakes, Spencer Sanders could win the Heisman. And this year, he's gotten rid of the mistakes. He's going to see a really big test this week against TCU. TCU's defense isn't great, but their offense is, and he's got to make a lot of plays to keep Oak State in that game and get that win. And I'm excited to see him play. I'm a big believer in Spencer Sanders. As long as he doesn't play the other team that wears orange in the Big 12, I hope he does great.
All right. So that's Hunter's Heisman hopefuls. I can't disagree with you. They all sound like really great picks, and you make really compelling arguments for them. So I hope we just get to see them at their best the rest of the season and let it play out how it plays out. So let's get to some more picks. Let's talk about our game of the week, Hunter. Who is your game of the week? And I'm not talking about the WEAK. I'm talking about the WEEK. Who is the just absolutely cannot miss game of the week for you?
Well, I think it's the same one everybody has. It's one I just talked about. It's Alabama traveling to Rocky Top, Tennessee. Oh man, that is gonna be a rocking stadium. The third Saturday in October.
So it's gonna be so much fun to hear the faithful sing Rocky Top. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not necessarily pulling for either team. I want a great game, but I love the atmosphere. It's like when we talk about Florida State in a little bit, we're going to talk about the chop. When they get the chop going, man, it's like you're playing another opponent. I mean, it just really is. You're playing that third opponent in the stadium, or the second opponent in the stadium. You're playing that crowd. It's going to be a great energy, great vibe. It's the faithful at Tennessee are going to really be rocking. But I think we're going to be in store for a great game there. So, all right. So instead of doing a game of the week at WEAK with you, Hunter, we have a Group 5 game of the week. So, Hunter, I'm going to scroll on over here, and I'm going to go ahead and debut Wider Right CFB's G5 game of the week. And I'm going to ask you, is it the same game that I have?
It sure is. I was kind of leaning towards ECU game, but I kind of went back to this one. I thought about it a little bit, slept on it, prayed on it, however you want to call it. I like Western Kentucky versus Middle Tennessee State. Both teams have the ability to put up a lot of offense. I think we could see a lot of points, and it'd be a real fun game. I don't know why the over-under is 57. That is free money.
Is that for the first quarter?
Yeah, I don't know. That's free money to me. So if you're a betting man, I'd say go ahead and take that over. Now, don't come and ask me for money when it doesn't hit, because you have two offenses just go cold against each other. It's a defensive battle. That could happen. It's one of those games where, you could have this two great offenses play and nobody scores.
Yeah. There is a little weather predicted for game day. Being two explosive offenses like they are, they could struggle with the weather element. So also they could struggle just trying to get rhythm going. So they
Yeah.
both have played really well this year. Western Kentucky, definitely the helmet game plays into huge in this game. And they both share a common helmet, don't they, Hunter? What is the commonality
They both
share?
wear chrome helmets.
That is awesome.
Red chrome for Western Kentucky and blue and chrome for Middle Tennessee State.
So this is a real treat. So if you're going to want to watch this game is going to be at 2:30 on ESPN Plus. Now you're going to have to prescribe or subscribe or whatever, one of those scribes. You're going to have to subscribe to ESPN to watch this game. It's going to be a shame if you don't get an opportunity to watch it, but it's definitely at least the highlights. I hope the highlights make the big show at the end on Saturday. I'd love to talk about some Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee State. I think the highlights over there are going to be awesome. All right. So, Hunter, we already covered the salute to our service academies. Let's get to do you have time for a few do you have time to about 5 more minutes?
Yeah, I got 5 more minutes, just about.
All right. So let's talk about the wide right CFB's upset of the week. We're going to pick our upsets of the week. I want to say that number 4 Clemson goes to Tallahassee and loses to Florida State. Now, this is a 6:30 p.m. game, Central Standard Time, so it'll be 7:30 their time on ABC. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing. Clemson's going to play in front of a crowd that's not in their favor, and you're going to hear the chop. And what we're saying is the chop is when the fans start doing the oh. It is one of the most intimidating stadiums in college football. I think that Clemson's going to struggle mightily. I really believe that Florida State's defense is going to respond well after 2 really hard weeks. Mike Norvell's got the ship righted, I believe. I think Florida State's going to ride a decent, underdog wave, and they're going to be hard to beat. I think Clemson's going to struggle. If DJU doesn't play well early, this could be a tough game for Clemson. So I'm picking number 4 Clemson to go down to Florida State by just a few points. Now, my other upset of the week is number 7 USC at number 20 Utah. This is a 7 p.m. game Central Standard Time on Fox. USC's looked kind of flat the last couple of weeks. I'm really worried that they're not going to respond. That's why I picked it as an upset of the week. USC could come out and just absolutely pummel Utah, but Kyle Whittingham's been there for 14 plus years for a reason, because the guy knows how to make a team play regardless of how the season's going. He can go and get them ready for a big game like this. I think this is going to be an awesome game. We're going to find out if USC's for real. If the Trojans aren't for real, we will know this week. So those are the wide right CFB's upsets of the week. So let's go over to another segment of the wide right CFB, or what to watch. So we're going to give you a few games to watch this week. And obviously, we have Penn State at Michigan. That's an 11 a.m. kick on Fox. That's definitely going to be
big
a good
noon.
watch.
Gus Johnson, great watch.
Wow. I think this could be a good game. I don't know that it scores a lot of points. James Franklin's not known for giving up a lot of points. You don't score a ton on a James Franklin team. I think James Franklin's an excellent coach. He's been an excellent coach ever since his Vanderbilt days. He made Vanderbilt relevant when he was a coach at Vanderbilt. So James Franklin's a great coach. Jim Harbaugh is obviously a great coach. I mean, he's survived. He suffered through. He struggled through with Michigan. He looks like he's got Michigan rolling. Michigan's offense isn't maybe as explosive as it needs to be, but I think it's good. I wouldn't look for a real high-scoring affair. I think Michigan's going to beat Penn State, but I think we're going to be looking at a score of like 17-10. I think we keep it under 40 points. Another game that I want y'all to watch this week is a number 8 Oklahoma State team traveling to Amon G. Carter Stadium in Fort Worth to take on TCU Horned Frogs. Now, TCU's coming off a couple of pretty big games. I don't know if they can be had. If you get the Spencer Sanders that doesn't turn over the ball, if he doesn't make any stupid penalty or make any bad plays, any dumb turnovers, I really find it really hard to beat Oklahoma State. They can absolutely move the ball on anybody in the nation. Last week, Max Duggan didn't look tremendous. He looked good, but he didn't look tremendous. And I think they got away with they matched up well against Kansas. And I think that's why they were able to score kind of like they did against Kansas. So I think this week, the steam might run out for number 13 TCU. I look for Oklahoma State to take advantage of them. and just squeak out in this game. But I believe it's going to be over 60 points total between the two. This is a 2:30 kickoff game on ABC. Like I said, I like Oklahoma State, but I think the points are going to be over 60. So take the over on that one. I think the over under is 67 on that game. I would definitely take the over though. Yeah, I think I would take the over on that game. And then our last game we're going to talk about is number 16 Mississippi State at number 22 Kentucky. Now, this is a 6:30 p.m. kickoff game, and it's on the SEC network. It's going to be a raucous crowd. I mean, Kentucky fans are going to have all day to stew, drink, eat whatever roadkill they hit earlier that day. It's going to be a tough place to play. I'm kidding. If you're from Kentucky, I'm just making a joke. It works better when I tell it that way. You can say the same thing about people from Austin. It'll work just fine. I think that Mississippi State's offense is really, really potent right now. I think they're going to be very hard to stop. Now, I'll tell you this. I know one thing about a Mark Stoops team is their defense is any Stoops brother. You name any Stoops brother, the defense is going to be on point. I think the Pirate, who used to coach for Stoops, is going to have some trouble moving the ball. I look for this game to probably not make the over, but I look for a competitive game. And the winner of this game is going to drag themselves back into the upper tier of the SEC. So for Mississippi State, if they win this game, they were going to be hard to keep out of the top 10. If Kentucky wins this game, they're going to start creeping back towards the top 15. So it all depends on Will Levis. Will Levis plays. This is a competitive game. Will Levis doesn't play. The defense keeps him in it, but they're just not gonna have enough, bullets in the gun for Mississippi State. So,
yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I've said it already, and I'll say it again. Will Rogers reminds me a lot of Graham Harrell. People who know about the college football, the air raid at Tech, when it was really firing. The Graham Harrell is just one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Will Rogers reminds me a lot of that. And, Mississippi State is really rolling right now. And if they just keep winning, gosh, that's a team that you don't want to be playing because, when an air raid team really is firing all cylinders, you have a game like 2008 when a, wide receiver catches the ball just ever so barely and scores a touchdown and puts an end to your perfect season when you're trying to go to the national championship. So I'd be very careful playing Mississippi State. Kentucky's not in that situation right now, but Mark Stoops, right? Mark Stoops.
Yep.
He loves to be the underdog. He talks about it all the time. He loves to tell his Kentucky Wildcats that they're the underdog, that nobody believes in them, and they eat it up. And they love to go play teams that they're supposed to lose to and beat them. So we'll just have to see. Will Levis, he's trying to be the number one overall pick in the draft. He's trying to be the first quarterback off the board, and he's got to come. If he plays, he's got to show up and he's got to show out to make up for that last performance against Ole Miss. So it's hard to say who will win. I think right now Mississippi State does, just because I like their offense a lot more. But man, a charged up Kentucky Wildcats is a tough team to beat.
All right, and finally, we're going to bump over here. We'll talk about the game of the week. My game of the week is the same as everybody else's. Is number 3 Alabama at Tennessee. We have talked about this and talked about this and talked about this. I think nothing else needs to be said. I believe that we're going to be in for a great show. The atmosphere is going to be awesome. I'm just excited about watching it, and definitely the team that scores the most points is going to win. So, with that said, Hunter, we're going to wrap the show up, son. I'll give you. I'll bring you on the solo layout. Go ahead and say your highs and buys.
All right. As always, in order of importance, eat 'em up, Cats, hook 'em horns, and go Navy, beat Army, beat SMU. Fire Jake Spavital.
Fire Jake Spavital. All right. So my buddy Jude Santa Cruz can't be here, and remember, you can't spell SEC without SC. Fight on. Hopefully I did that right. So Jude, sorry you couldn't make it on the show tonight, but you'll be there for Saturday. And I'd like to thank everybody in the chat today. Pat Paulson, Raging Cajun Garage, Diabolical 58, Bocce's Blankets and more. Bocce, thank you. Anthony GM85, Chris Hodges. See if I missed anybody else. Everybody else is there. Powerstroke, Jude. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun this week. I look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday. And remember, the team that scores the most points always wins the game. Thanks for watching.